Okay, sweet. So I'll give you the clap in 3, 2, 1. That's the running joke. Hey, what's up, everybody? My name is Coleman. Welcome back to 21st Talks, the only podcast and YouTube channel that is dedicated to saving the world one really poorly timed joke at a time. Today is the second part of our quote series where we talk about some fun ideas from history. It can go back as far as Aristotle or Plato, or some of the pre-Socratics or some of those really crazy motherfuckers, all the way up to modern thinkers. And hell, probably someone who's not born today. I'm sure there'll be some future episode of this series. But nonetheless, I hope you guys are all doing well. And today we're going to be talking about a quote by Viktor Frankl, recently translated by Daniel Goleman into English for the first time, a big dream podcast guest of mine. And I really wanted to share this one with you guys. You can go ahead and jump right into it. So Viktor Frankl, speaking to a group of undergrads about 11 months after he was released from a Nazi death camp, said this as a point of hope or as a reason for these young undergrads to keep fighting and essentially try to live flourishing lives despite the collective trauma of World War II that they had just been placed through. Viktor Frankl himself says this and does this lecture and is committed to these ideas after, again, less than a year after he was released from a Nazi death camp as a Jewish prisoner, and his entire family, except for his mother, died, that including his unborn child and wife, along with his entire hometown being destroyed. Viktor Frankl writes, "Today, our attitude to life hardly has any room for belief in meaning. We are living in a typical post-war period. Although I'm using a somewhat journalistic phrase here, the state of mind and the spiritual condition of an average person today is most accurately described as spiritually bombed out. This alone would be bad enough, but it's made even worse by the fact that we are overwhelmingly dominated at the same time by the feeling that we are yet again living in a kind of pre-war period. The invention of the atomic bomb is feeding the fear of catastrophe on a global scale, and a kind of apocalyptic, end-of-the-world mood has taken hold the last part of the second millennium. We already know such apocalyptic moods from history. They existed at the beginning of the first millennium and at its end, and famously in the last century there was a fin de siècle feeling." How do you pronounce this, Ash? Fin de la Seychelles. A fin de la Seychelles feeling. And this was not the only one that was defeatist. At the root of all these moods lies fatalism. However, we cannot move toward any spiritual reconstruction, or as we'd say now, a sense of flourishing or growth, or a direction that we ought to move in as a society or as individuals, somewhere better. We cannot move toward any spiritual reconstruction with a sense of fatalism such as this. So apart from the only justified fatalism that I and Nash are realizing is my inability to speak French for the life of me, really this fatalism that Viktor Frankl is speaking about here to this group of undergrads, that Daniel Goleman so brilliantly translates, is about this post-war, pre-war series of feelings, right? And again, talking to a group of people who are living in a society that is collectively traumatized from one of the worst wars in human history, if not the worst war in human history. And Viktor Frankl is still able to stamp to that call to action to find meaning in day-to-day life, and more importantly is cemented in his quest for meaning as a route to psychological well-being, both in his patients but also in himself, to the point of creating an entire psychoanalytic, post-psychoanalytic theory of human flourishing based off of those roots that he claims helped him through his experiences in a Nazi death camp. Yet, nonetheless, throughout, despite that, the concreteness of how based his drive towards meaning is and his awareness of the impact it can have for people to move away from fatalism, despite that, the sense of a apocalyptic mood setting over Europe that he's so brilliantly detecting as a psychologist, that mood is instilled by the invention of a nuclear bomb, which, speaking to you from a hall named after one of the people who helped to build that bomb in a very haphazard way, check out next week's article on the exact topic to see me a little bit pissed off. But speaking in a world where those nuclear weapons are still a threat, along with artificial general intelligence, climate change, and a host of other major issues, especially those damn little furry fucks in Australia, those damn koalas, all of these risks facing humanity today, all these existential hazards, have instilled an even greater sense of despair and fatalism that has become more endemic. And I would say the birth of that feeling of fatalism towards the world wasn't born in, the death of meaning in the 1800s. That just merely set the site for it. It merely set the stage. It wasn't born because of the Vietnam War and people losing faith in institutions. It didn't emerge out of neoliberalism failing. Those are all topics that we talk about here on the channel. I would argue that sense of fatalism that is so deeply embedded in people's psychology today that we have to overcome in order to actually do the things that effective altruism and existential risk aim to do, to make sure that humanity doesn't die out and that we can have a brilliant future ahead. In order to do those things, we have to recognize that that defeatist attitude was probably born with the invention of the nuclear bomb. And here's Viktor Frankl, one of the first scholars to actually bring it up and actually discuss it. And that is one of the reasons why this quote is so powerful. So thank you guys for watching, and like, rate, and subscribe. And I'm going to go eat some food and then study for an exam that I've yet to study for whatsoever. I am not a good student. My friend is nodding his head. Thank you guys for watching. I'll see you guys next week.